Hello, everyone. I'm Dwayne Bonifer in the Lindsey Wilson University Office of Public Relations, and this is The View from the Hill, the podcast of Lindsey Wilson University. Every week during the academic year, The View from the Hill features conversations with some of the people who help create the dynamic living, learning environment that serves the educational needs of every Lindsey Wilson student every day. In this first podcast of the 2025-2026 school year, we'll hear about what promises to be the opening of a historic school year at Lindsey Wilson, and we'll hear it from two folks who've been involved with a lot of school year openings. Lindsey Wilson's first day of classes were on January 3rd, 1904. More than 121 years later, Lindsey Wilson is preparing to hold its first day of classes as Lindsey Wilson University. That day will be on Monday, August 25th, when the first day of the 2025 fall semester gets underway. And be sure to follow Lindsey Wilson's social media platforms for a very special celebration of that first day. Two Lindsey Wilson administrators who've seen their fair share of opening school years on the Hill are Dean of Students Chris Schmidt and Assistant Dean of Students Abe Cross. Combined, they have nearly a half century of service to Lindsey Wilson students. And Chris says, the start of the school year is always the second most exciting day of the school year, especially when he thinks about the thousands of Blue Raiders he's worked with over the years.
It's a pretty exciting time because staring at this start of this fall semester and realizing that this will be my 31st move-in weekend at Lindsey Wilson University is pretty incredible. It's to think about all the young people who have been welcomed to this campus and all the people who have influenced their lives is pretty incredible. And I'm fortunate enough to meet with parents at these orientations throughout the summertime, and I tell parents all the time that if you think that opening weekend and dropping your son and daughter off to start school is exciting, wait till you show up on commencement day. I said, it's absolutely fantastic. I said, so it'll be like dropping them off you think is sort of the culmination of the dream you had for them. But then when you're at commencement, it is just the most exhilarating, exciting thing ever. So when you bookend those two pieces, for me, opening weekend is the start of that new chapter. And it's just exciting. Like everybody's a buzz around campus. Everybody gets excited. Even after 31 years, you can get excited about the new faces and the new ideas. And, things change certainly across all these years, but like the excitement of people chasing their dreams never changes. Like that's just exciting. So I'm really looking forward to opening weekend and all the things that are going to happen as we start the school year. And when you think about the fact that this is the inaugural Lindsey Wilson University, I mean, I find myself constantly making a mistake and using the word college. And I have to realize like, no, it's Lindsey Wilson University, but like that's part of the growth and development as well too, to think where we started and where we are now. Whoever was the dean of students 100 years ago, I wonder what he would think about it all now. And I think about that. I think about how powerful that is. And so I'm just as excited as the young people and their families who will be joining us in just a few weeks.
Abe, you're a relative newcomer to this. It's only your 16th opening weekend. Looking back on those previous 15 or looking at this 16th, what sort of feelings do you have about opening weekend 25?
Still a little wet behind the ears, Dwayne, for move-in. I think I'm probably as excited or more excited for this move-in as I ever have been because of the name change going to Lindsey Wilson University. There's just a certain buzz around this move-in. We get one chance to have our first ever Lindsey Wilson University move-in, and I'm excited to see us welcome in this new class. And everything we do about move-in weekend and throughout that entire week is about community building, and our staff is so good at that. Our director of student activities, Stephanie Blackwood, she's excellent at creating opportunities for folks to begin to develop the community that they're going to be a part of when they get here. And our residence life staff, Bree Butler Downs, she does an incredible job. Her whole staff are just so good at making sure that people have something to be a part of when they get here. And the newness of Lindsey Wilson University, we're all part of this bigger thing as we transition from college to university. It's an exciting time to be here.
Chris, let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen on move-in weekend. What can students and family members expect?
Dwayne, I think as everyone, arrives on campus, while the name has changed, there's some things that will be business as usual for us in terms of, getting people issued their keys and parking passes and doing all the stuff that is just historically goes on all the time. And then getting them moved into their residence halls, commuters going to their commuter check-in, and just dotting I's and crossing T's and making people feel comfortable and welcomed. And then we just roll into all the activities. There's the big welcome where we all meet, and President Lucky welcomes this class of students, the class of 2029, to campus, and talks about all the exciting things and how they're going to explore and learn, and just the friends they'll make and the relationships and the challenges they'll face as well too. So it's kind of the kickoff ceremony, and then we roll right into the academic forum, and then there's the president's picnic, and then there's we don't really necessarily call it a lock-in, but there's a big group giant activity in the Holloway Health and Wellness Center that runs through the night. And again, that's residence life and student government and student activities and FYE, and just a collaboration of offices across campus that help facilitate games, activities, giveaways. It's a great way for new students and returning students, but mostly new students, to sort of just relax, and sort of, if there's any nervousness about and apprehension about the start of classes, they can kind of have fun, make friends, and then ease their way into the start on Monday when classes begin. And then throughout the week, there's just continued activities and giveaways and just a lot of things that acclimate them and make them feel comfortable about this, LWU is family, and trying to make people feel comfortable in that so that they can acclimate to this new transition.
Abe, some of the folks you mentioned earlier were the folks who work in residence life. They're really kind of some of the unsung heroes on this campus. Talk a little bit about how they help create that living, learning environment at Lindsey Wilson.
They really do, Dwayne. Those folks, I don't know when they sleep. They stay so busy. Parents come and drop off their students. Our professional live-in res life staff becomes kind of the de facto parent for those people in those buildings, and they're on campus. They live on campus 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and they're there. They're there to help foster that living, learning environment that you talked about. We want all of these students to be involved some way or another, and all the research shows that the most successful students are the students that are involved. So part of what that residence life staff does, in collaboration with all the other groups that Chris was mentioning, is look for ways to get students involved. If we notice a student might be having a little bit harder of a time finding their tribe, to use one of Chris's words, finding their tribe, then we'll help facilitate. We don't match make necessarily, but we try to bring that person out of the room, get them involved on campus, because that's how they're going to be a successful Blue Raider, is being out there, and so they can really develop into their fullest version of themselves.
Chris, you mentioned earlier that Lindsey Wilson only gets one chance to have its first opening weekend as Lindsey Wilson University. Sort of extend that metaphor a little bit. Students only get one chance to start their college career. Talk about how important it is to get off to a good start and the things students can do to get off to that good start.
That is a great question, Dwayne. And we always recommend the students that they get involved. It's just simply get involved. That sounds so easy, but and Abe touched on it earlier when he talked about if someone doesn't find their tribe right away. But really, I can't express this enough. This is one of the greatest times in your life. It's your true sense of independence evolves right now. You're away, maybe a long way away, or maybe even it's a short commute, but you're away from your family. You're living on your own. You're deciding what you're going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you're going to go to class, if you're not going to class, you should go to class. That just the friendships and the relationships and all these things are going on. There's a lot there. I love to use the expression, they're sort of drinking out of a fire hydrant, but it's just the best experience ever. So I tell students, don't shortchange yourself, experience it all, but also be thoughtful in that. Remember, the first thing you're supposed to be doing is being a student. It's a really simple formula, and I say it over and over again. You got to go to class, get to know your professors, and ask for help. Those three things: go to class, get to know your professors, and if you're struggling, ask for help. This is a place, Lindsey Wilson University is a place who historically, time in, time out, over and over again, people will come to your side to help you out. So that's a thing there. But then the second half of that, the get involved, maybe you become a member of SJ. Maybe you want to be a resident assistant. You're playing a varsity sport, a JV sport. You're going to events. There's theater programs on campus. There's student activities. There's just things going on all the time. So there's a balance there that we talk about, in that living, learning environment where you get to work hard, play hard. And I think you should do it all because when you get done and you reach commencement, you're going to look back and have made all these wonderful memories and these great relationships, and you'll have learned so much that goes beyond just the classroom, and it has helped develop you into this whole person.
You're listening to the Lindsey Wilson View from the Hill podcast. I'm Dwayne Bonifer in the Lindsey Wilson University Office of Public Relations. We're visiting with Lindsey Wilson Dean of Students Chris Schmidt and Assistant Dean of Students Abe Cross. They're previewing the first opening weekend in the history of Lindsey Wilson University. Don't forget, your place on the World Wide Web to follow what's happening at Lindsey Wilson is the Lindsey Wilson website. To get there, just point your browser to lindsey.edu. And your place on the World Wide Web for all things Blue Raider athletics related is lindseyathletics.com. That's the home of Lindsey Wilson's now 29 varsity programs, because this will also be the inaugural year of women's flag football at Lindsey Wilson. And be sure to follow Lindsey Wilson on social media on the opening day of the 2025 fall semester. That will be on Monday, August 25th. The university's social media team has a very special day planned to mark that momentous moment in Lindsey Wilson's storied history. Now let's get back to my conversation with Dean of Students Chris Schmidt and Assistant Dean of Students Abe Cross. Abe, you talked as well about the importance of getting involved, and I think what some college students don't realize is that they come to a college campus and they think about all these things they're going to do off campus, these places they're going to go or do, and they're surprised a little bit about how much is happening on their college campus here at Lindsey Wilson. There's something going on literally every day of the week.
There really is, Dwayne. And when sometimes if Chris is busy and I do new student orientation, the parent session, I talk to them about how we have people on staff. Their entire job, their entire employment revolves around making sure there's things for students to do so that they can be involved, and like we've been saying, you can't stress it enough how important it is for that involvement. That's how you get to the finish line is through that involvement. You can get there by accident, but really what you need to do, and I used to tell my athletes this when I was a coach, figure out where you want to be at the end of the day, figure out where you want to go, okay? And then each step should be intentional to get to that spot. And in graduation, career, all those things are on our goals list. Well, what are we doing today to make sure that we end up in that spot? And it's from day one, we organize all these events so that people can start that journey. And it's so important to be intentional with that journey and getting out, meeting others, figuring out who you are along that way. You're going to take a sidestep or two, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, you need to be working towards something, and that's so important.
You all have a combined 47 years of experience at Lindsey Wilson. In dog years, that's over 300 years, to put that in perspective. You've got a lot of memories. You've been around a lot of great things that have happened. As we mentioned, this is an historic year because it's the first year of Lindsey Wilson University. Chris, what are you looking forward to the most of the first year of Lindsey Wilson University?
Dwayne, that's a pretty tricky question. What am I looking forward to most? I don't know. I don't think I've thought about that enough. It's just because I think we're drinking out of a fire hydrant as well, because it's been so wild to think about Lindsey Wilson University, but I get a smile on my face every time. And when I walk around campus, I see the new banners, or I see someone wearing a new T-shirt, or there's the new hats in the bookstore. I saw football post pictures of their new uniforms, and it's I talked to Coach Starks with basketball, and he was talking about their uniforms, and it's SGA putting stuff on their social media that has Lindsey Wilson University. It's like every day we're showing up and there's something exciting to be part of. That's why I said it's like the inaugural thing. It's like every day we get to experience this new thing. I feel like just when I finished my last meeting about Lindsey Wilson University, we're having another meeting about some other great idea or some other great opportunity about that brand, Lindsey Wilson University. So I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to the first football game. I'm looking forward to the first SGA meeting. I'm looking forward to this move-in weekend. I mean, I think anybody who is just even the smallest little piece of Lindsey Wilson University is excited about their first thing that they're doing. And so when you get invited to that thing, how could you not get excited for them? And so I think just I think this whole year is going to be filled with a lot of excitement and energy, and you're going to see a lot of laughter and smiles, and it's just something to look forward to.
Hey, what about you? What are you looking forward to the most of the first year at Lindsey Wilson University?
As hard as we work to make sure that we're doing this the right way, our one shot to have our first Lindsey Wilson University opening weekend academic year, and as important as it is, at the end of the day, we're still who we are. We're still Lindsey Wilson at our cores. We still, you hear all the hashtags and the adages, the Lindsey Wilson is family, Lindsey love, all these things are still true. And really, I guess what I'm looking forward to the most is staying true to that ethos that is Lindsey Wilson and being able to do it with a new look. I'd be lying if I didn't say I'm excited to get our new polos that say Lindsey Wilson University. It's just exciting. But at the end of the day, we're still who we are, and that's why we come to work every day. That's the most important aspect of what we do day in and day out.
That's Lindsey Wilson Assistant Dean of Students Abe Cross. You also heard from Lindsey Wilson Dean of Students Chris Schmidt. And speaking of the aforementioned first Lindsey Wilson University football game, that will also be Lindsey Wilson's first Thursday night home football game. It will be at 6 p.m. on Thursday, August 28th against visiting Texas Wesleyan University. And of course, the game will be played out at the stadium on the Parkway, Parnell Family Stadium. And that's going to do it for this first view from the Hill of the 2025-2026 school year and the first view from the Hill for Lindsey Wilson University. Once again, the View from the Hill is produced by Shelby Burton. She's Lindsey Wilson's Assistant Director of Public Relations and Media Producer. And also be sure to encourage your friends, family members, neighbors, and co-workers to subscribe to A View from the Hill. They can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and on the university's YouTube channel. Until our next edition, I'm Dwayne Bonifer in the Lindsey Wilson University Office of Public Relations. Thanks so much for listening. So long, everybody, and have a nice day.